Perfect. Well, welcome everybody. So I am Kelly. I'm your plant-based kitchenista. So we are, like I said, we always do these classes about every 2 weeks, and unless there's something, I do work full time for a hospital. So lots of craziness going on with that, because of course acquisitions and all those fun things. But I try to get them about every 2 weeks. I've got them out through March, starting on April. So that way I can just kind of keep ahead of myself, because otherwise I find that sometimes I'll get behind. And then like 2 weeks will go by, which I know you guys are all familiar with that. And then you're like, I forgot to post a class. So that's why I'm trying to get ahead of myself right now. So at least you can see what's coming up for March, April, May, June, all those type of things. So we are, of course, whole food plant-based and no oil. So we don't cook with any oil at all. If I do saute, it's vegetable broth or stock, or water. And so water, I've always got vegetable broth or stock, but if I run out, of course, water is always readily available. And then the other thing that I'll sometimes use is white wine, but that's pretty much kind of adding it into a sauce, a tomato sauce or something, not really sauteing with it too much. So we have two great recipes that we're going to be doing today. We're going to do a roasted vegetable stew with red lentils. So if you guys are experiencing the weather like we are here in Colorado, because we are in Colorado, we've had some like dustings of snow. There's supposed to be another snowstorm coming up. But it's like, I don't know, it's probably what, 10, 15 degrees, maybe 20 at the highs, and then it gets really cold in the nighttime and stuff. So having like a warm vegetable type of stew with a great salad, best way to do it. And there's a lot of things that I've been doing here lately too, and you'll start seeing some of that down the road. But we're like when I make something that's ready to eat for dinner or for lunches or whatever we're going to use it for, I'm actually making a second one and I'm freezing it. So all the ingredients are still, like just the kale would be frozen, the tomatoes are frozen, that. So that way down the road, when I really like a soup, I can have that frozen down the road and say, okay, well, you know what? I'm tired. I've been working all day. It's a Saturday, whatever, whatever my jive is going and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just be like, okay, take it out, put it in, like, could be a crock pot, could be in a pot, could do an instant pot, whatever you want to do, and you've got soup that's ready to go again. So lots of things, trying to plan ahead without having like all the ingredients sitting in my fridge all the time. And it's a good way to use up all your vegetables too. So you never have that the vegetables go bad or that type of thing. So, but more of that to come. The other thing we're going to do is a quinoa kale salad. So we've got kale, which is kind of fun in both recipes. So we're trying to find things that kind of balance out. So it's not like you have to buy kale for one and then something else for the other ingredients or the other recipe. So we're using La Quinto kale. So it's the elephant ears, that's my favorite. I love it more than the curly, just because it's like when you start breaking it down or you just add it to soups, it's not so chewy, I guess is the way to put it. So that's why it's one of my favorites. So real long green leaves that, and I'll actually even grab one. I'll show you because I peel down the rest of them. But that's a La Quinto kale. You can't always find it, and if you can in the recipe, just use the curly. I wouldn't use the kind of the red or the purple kale. I would just use the green kale and then just do that. But otherwise, this is my favorite, elephant ear. It's great to have pretty much in all the different stores, but there is once in a while you can't find it. I'll just throw that over to the side for now. All right, I need to have Jerry introduce himself, so the man behind the camera, and then we're going to get cooking. One thing that'll let you know that why he's coming up, the roasted vegetables that we're doing for the stew, I've actually got those in the oven. I'll pull them out and show you what I did. But I wanted to get them roasted because, they're 20, 30 minutes to get them going. And then once you guys have to sit there and be like, okay, it's been 15 minutes, let's pull them out. So kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself on that. But other than that, let's Jerry introduce himself and then we'll get started cooking.
For those who don't know me, I'm Jerry Casados. I'm a plant-based nutritionist. Been plant-based now 18 years. Amazing. Because I had heart disease, 3 blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, all happening when I was turning 57. But I found plant-based nutrition through Dr. John McDougall, who passed away last year, unfortunately. But he was my mentor, and I teach his program, and he got me off all my meds, changed my life basically, and reversing heart disease as we speak. But no, I just trying to help people change their life, change their lifestyles, and just eat healthier. All this type 2 diabetes reversed, heart disease reversed with the plant-based diet. So we're just trying to educate and get people to eat healthier, and that's our goal. But any questions about nutrition, chat window, you can ask, and I'll be glad to answer. So anything else, let's here to eat and watch.
Eat is the awesome word. If you've met him before, you know he eats a lot. So yeah, yeah. And he likes all the recipes. And a lot of people will say, like even Chef AJ, my heart, um, will say he's spoiled, rotten, is how she puts it at the end. So yeah, he is. So yes, we are. So one of the things you're going to see on my recipes too, and that goes back to Chef AJ. So I always say like sea salt and black pepper to taste. And I don't cook with any sea salt. You don't see it any here, but that is completely up to you. It's your choice. I do it. We do it for for like food addictions and things because it's like, you kind of get, if you get a lot of salt in you, like me, I know if I get a lot of salt and sweet in me, the next day, almost the exact same minute, I crave it, or even the whole day long, I crave it. And it actually keeps you, like if you eat a lot of salt or a lot of sweet in the food, it actually, you'll eat more too. So it's one of that part, but then it's also for health reasons because it's with heart disease or any of those kind of things, it's just better off to keep more on the low side. So I always have it, on the table. If I like some salt on potatoes, or if I want a little bit of the soup or something, I'll add it. So that's how we do it, but completely up to you, your choice of how you want to do it. And that's why it always says sea salt and black pepper to taste. All right, so I'm going to get the vegetables. I'm going to show you what those look like first. So what a great stew. If you look at this, we've got cauliflower. So cauliflower is bite-sized pieces. I've got sweet potatoes. So you're going to be full. There's no way you're going to wake up tonight being hungry. And then it's a red bell pepper, but I also had an orange one and it was a little bit older than my red. So I used orange and red. So you could actually mix in some other colors if you wanted to. And it's pretty. So all I did was chop them up into bite-sized pieces, put them on a baking sheet all together. And then I just drizzled them with vegetable broth, and then I put them in the 425-degree oven. So I just want to get those all roasted up. You don't have to worry about waiting for that. My garlic. Whole head of garlic. So I have it in parchment paper, so we don't have to, so basically don't absorb any of the aluminum foil. I've actually just taken it sometimes without worrying about the aluminum foil and the parchment paper. I'll just take the bulb here and I'll just put it right on the the rungs and stuff that are in what am I trying to say? The oven. Yeah, thank you. The oven and stuff. And I'll just put it in there and I'll just watch it and keep flipping it. And that's another way to do it. So all I did is put the parchment paper, put a little bit of vegetable broth, water, doesn't matter, and then wrap it up. So we're going to use that here in a little bit. But this is something, instead of doing right when you're making the stew, make it up ahead of time. So you could actually do like a whole frozen baggie full of roasted garlic, and you could leave the cloves whole. Or what we're going to do is once it gets cools off a little bit, we're going to actually squeeze the garlic out, and then we're going to use it for the stew. So it's going to be nice. If you think about it, nice garlic, lots of vegetables, which yay, especially at 10 degrees of temperature in the weather. All right, so let's get the stew base. So we'll walk through the stew base. So I've got a large pot because it's going to make, because you saw all the vegetables, so it is going to make a large pot of it. If you are like by yourself with 2 people or something like that, I would cut everything in half. So I would do like a half of a cauliflower, 1 bell pepper, those type of things. So you don't have so much of it unless you've got a really big freezer and you want to freeze it up. And that's kind of the fun thing about that. The other thing I was going to show you, and I should have brought it out. These are fun. I'm sure you guys have seen these, but super cubes. So they're silicone based and they have nice little tops on them. But like if we do a whole bunch of this stew and then I'm like, I don't think we're going to eat it all. These are 1 cup or half cup serving. So you can actually put that in there, put it in the freezer. So it's nice because it has the metal. So it's easy to carry. Put those in there. Put the top on. You can actually put some tape on it to say what the names of them are. So you could put some tape if you had 3 different soups in here. Put them in the freezer. Let them unthaw for just a teeny little bit, maybe about 10 minutes when they're all frozen. Pop them out, and then you can put them into baggies and put little names on your baggies. And then guess what? You have frozen soup. So you have 1 cup, 2 cup, whatever size that you're looking for, and you have soup that you can just pull out and heat up in the microwave. And like I always use this when I'm working. Nice big kind of a coffee cup stuff. It's great for a cup of soup. So that's a fun way to kind of use up your soups, but not at the same time have a whole bunch go bad. because you don't want that. That's what this is not about. All right, so we've got the big pot. So if you're following along, we're going to put in some vegetable broth. So we're gonna drizzle it. Then we're going to put in the onions, and then we're going to put in the garlic and get those. And you're going to saute, of course, the onions until they become translucent. Minced garlic. So we had one medium onion that was kind of a medium dice. You could actually, if you're not a big fan of onions and you don't like, I like the chunks of the onions. If you don't, then just chop them small dice. You know, you can use those Vidalia choppers, all those type of things. If you're like, please don't make me chop a bunch of onions. Plus, you can also buy them frozen. That's another thing that are already chopped. Then we've got 2 cloves of garlic minced. Those are going to go in. They make a mess. Nothing better, I think, to me. I love the smell of onion and garlic that are sauteing up. It just smells so good. So then we're going to add, so if you're following along with the recipe, we've got oregano. So we have 1 teaspoon of oregano, a half a teaspoon of thyme, and then we've got 2 teaspoons of basil. So kind of like the Italian seasonings with a little bit of thyme and things like that in there. Smells really good and smells really fresh. You could also, if you have a bunch of fresh herbs, you could just use it that way. So same thing, you would just, just take it off the stems and stuff and measure it out and use the same amount. If you're going to do fresh herbs, I would put them more towards the end. That go. So that's going to go in there in a second. Then we're going to add the tomatoes. So we're using fire roasted tomatoes, which are fun because it's going to give a little bit of that kind of that roasty type of a stew kick. So these are the Muir Glen, and these are diced tomatoes, fire roasted. So we're going to use 2 cans because we need 28 ounces. And I didn't drain them or anything like that. So we're going to keep all the juices in them. How long do you roast the vegetables? Yes. So the vegetables, you're going to watch them. So it depends on your oven. So this is 425, and it's a great question. So I'm going to just kind of watch them. And you want them to where they just get like the cauliflower and your sweet potato, because those are the more dense vegetables, and they get soft. But you don't want them really soft. Then they start getting browned around the edges. It's what you're going to want. So it's kind of like, I would say you don't want it so soft that they mush, and you don't want it as like al dente. So if you're doing it in the oven, I would say I would go like 30 minutes, check it at 15, check it about 20, 25, and see if you need to go a little bit more, because each oven's a little different. And most ovens have those kind of cold spots, hot spots, but that's how long I would do it. What are we making tonight? We are making the roasted vegetable stew with red lentils. So a great vegetable stew, and then a quinoa kale salad. So those are my fire roasted tomatoes. And like I said, I'm keeping all the juice and everything else in there. So starting to get translucent. Great way to get your onion facial for the week. All right, so we're going to add, so we got 28 ounces of the fire roasted tomatoes. So I'm going to add those in. If you don't have fire roasted, just use regular diced tomatoes. That's fine. Fire roasted are kind of fun because you don't get to use them as much for recipes. So there's a fun way to use them. And like fire roasted corn, if you've seen that and frozen, really good. Okay, give it a quick stir. So just tomatoes, onions, and garlic. Then we're going to add in, so as we were talking about, we have 1 teaspoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of thyme, 2 teaspoons of basil. In that goes. It's going to start smelling really good in here very soon. Give it a quick stir. Then we're going to add the vegetable broth. So we've got 6 cups of vegetable broth. One of these containers, which are 32 ounces, is right about 4 cups. So I'm gonna play with it a little bit, so I'm gonna dump this in. Of course, ask any question you'd like. I love answering questions and I love giving tips and tricks. One down. And a little bit more to go. And we'll play with it if we need a little bit more. And we can always add water too. So let's just say you end up and you go in your pantry and you've only got one vegetable broth, then play with it. So add your vegetable broth in and then add the rest in water. So it'll still be just as good. All right, so we've got 1 cup of lentils. So these are green lentils versus the red lentils, but they're kind of a mix between the red and the green because I've kind of sometimes bought red, sometimes bought green, but we're going to add those in. If you wanted to make this soup a lot quicker and you've already got roasted vegetables, one of the things that you could do is you could get your lentils ready. So kind of like par cook them and then add them in and they'll cook a lot faster. Okay, so we're going to turn up the heat, get this on a max sear here for a second. I'm going to get it boiling. It's going. So doesn't look like much right now. Tomatoes, onions, got the lentils that kind of sunk to the bottom. So not much, but smells good. But not much mixture, but doesn't taste like much yet. Substitutes for lentils. I would say if you don't want that, you could do like some of the little pasta. So you could do like the couscous or something like that. So you're going to want to make sure that when you're adding everything in together, add the pasta towards the end. So that would be a quick way to do it. You could actually just do it without any lentils. You could add in like beans if you wanted to. So like cannellini white beans would be really good in here, just because it's got the tomatoes, kind of the Italian flavors in that. That would be another fun way to add some of those in. You could actually do like was it eggplant? So if you cut that up into little squares, that'll give you kind of the nice chewy type of thing. So there's like anything that you like out there could pretty much substitute in for lentils. So great question. You get this boiling here, and then we're going to put the lid on. All right. Just kind of watch it. So we've got that going so that at the end, what we're going to do once this is ready and the vegetables are ready, and we'll check those really quick. So I can kind of give you a show and tell. Those have been roasting for about 15 minutes right now, so I'm just going to give them a quick stir. And you can see all the browning that's happening on the cauliflower. Taste one of these. Yep, sweet potato. Getting good. It's not too much longer. So like I said, this is probably closer to 20 minutes. So I'm going to probably go, and if you're running out of moisture, just feel free to drizzle again. But I would say that probably another 8 minutes or so. And I'm just going to drizzle just a little bit. Not too much. Like I said, you can use water too. Don't have to use your vegetable broth. Garlic. Because if it's ready, that'll give me time to let it cool off. A little bit longer. I'm gonna leave it open. And the way I could tell is when you touch one of the cloves that are in there and it doesn't give as much as you want it to be soft, then you know you need to put it in for a little bit longer. So that'll probably be about the same amount of time that we have for the vegetables. So then, like I said, after we get this cooking and the lentils are ready and the vegetables are ready, we're gonna actually put the roasted garlic into the blender. And so it's gonna be kind of a partial blended, and you really don't have to blend it if you don't want to, because you're thinking, I do not want to get my blender out, and maybe it's, under a cabinet or something like that. You don't have to bring the blender in at all. So you could just leave it very chunky if you like, but this is just a way to get like everything kind of blended in together. So we're gonna do where if you follow the recipe, you've got the roasted garlic we're going to put in there. We're going to add the tomato paste because that's something that's going to go into it too. A little bit of balsamic vinegar. So it's going to give a little bit of that umami, which is great. And then we're going to add half of the roasted vegetables now, just, maybe 3 or 4 cups. I like chunky and Jerry likes chunky, especially when it's cauliflower and things. So we'll probably just do a couple cups of it. And then we're going to ladle in 2 cups of the stew base. So this is the stew base, which is your tomatoes and your lentils and that, and do a little bit. And so that's going to make it like, instead of more liquidy with vegetables in it, it's going to give you that really kind of thick consistency. One other thing that you could do if you wanted to too, especially if you're using if you use like cannellini white beans, you could actually take the beans like right out of it. So like a low sodium or no sodium, you could actually put those in the blender also and blend it up. And it adds a really nice bean flavor. I do that with like all of my minestrone soups and things. I blend up cannellini white beans, add it back into the soups, and it just gives that really rich flavor, which is great in any soup, especially when you're going to have a little bit of beans in it. Blended them, the tops. So we're gonna do that, and then we'll put everything together, and then we'll make sure we put the kale in, because you got to have, as I say, got to have your greens. So we'll do that, and then everything will be pretty much all ready to go, and then we'll put it in a bowl and show you what that looks like, and then I get to taste it. Yum, which is great. So let's get the quinoa kale salad going. Grab all the ingredients over here. This is one of those salads you could make up ahead of time, which is really nice. Pull everything out so we can get this out of the way. Oh. Oh, I just didn't realize I had that. Let me just get a little bit more of the apple cider. We kind of had a little spill to work. And I'll show you what that is. Quick stir, see how it's going. When the lentils start kind of plumping up a little bit, then I'll give you a show of that, but it's not doing much right now. All right, and my kale. My spice blender. Okay, so here we go. We've got, first thing we're going to do is La Quinto kale. So it's 1 bunch. So like I was talking about. And so, if you're just stripping it off, you want to make sure you get the core and the stem out of it. So you're just stripping it out and then chopping it up. And I could say you could tear it if you want. I tend to chop. I kind of almost do like a chiffonade cut, which is basically what you do is you take, let's say if this was stripped off, I just roll it like that. And then I just do nice little cuts with my knife. And then it comes out into like more nice bite-sized pieces. So kind of like little ribbons, which is nice when you're doing a salad, and especially when you're using kale, because then it's not so chewy. But we've got the kale in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a half of an avocado. And then I'll show you what this little tool is. If you haven't seen one before. So this is my Avo Saver, AVOSAVER. Got them off of Amazon. So like under $10 for 2. And then of course you see it has the seed for the avocado. I place it in there like that, follow along. And then I put the little plastic wrap on it, put it in the refrigerator, and you'll get a little bit of air on it. So a little bit of browning and stuff, but you could peel that off if you want with a knife, but otherwise and stuff, I can keep this in there for probably like a week. And then I can pull it out and use it for other recipes, which is nice. It's my little avocado saver. Right there. we're gonna do, so we're gonna use half an avocado. And we're gonna use that to break down, to use it to break down the kale. So to make it where it's not as chewy. If you don't want to do avocado, let's just say you're like, I'm staying away from high fat, anything like that, then you could actually just add just a little bit of the lemon juice or lime juice into it and do the same thing. Get in there with your hands and then mix it up. So that's another way. So like blueberries are really good, or to break down kale. Avocado is, and lemon and lime. Just use gloves. If I wasn't doing a cooking class, no gloves. Get in there, smush up your avocado, and then just start massaging it into your kale. So just doing a nice massage, you'll see that it starts breaking down really quick. And if you don't care and you like kale just the way it is, leave your avocado out. Oops. A few more minutes won't hurt. Okay, so there's my kale. It's been massaged with the avocado. Yum. A little bit of, don't tell Jerry, salt and pepper. Could eat it just like that with a fork. Then we're going to add the cooked quinoa. So we've got 3 cups of this is a tricolor quinoa, which I like because I think it's pretty and it just adds so much more color. So 3 cups that are already cooked. So I did it yesterday. The way that I do quinoa, because I know everybody does it a little bit different. I know some people rinse it, I don't. And it's complete preference of how you want to do it. So I take the quinoa, I put in, so if I needed 3 cups cooked, I'll do 1.5 cups of just regular dried quinoa. I'll put water to where the water is about this much above the quinoa, the dried quinoa. I'll put it on high on the pan and I'll let it start boiling for about 4 to 5 minutes. And then I turn off the burner and I just leave it on there and then I put the lid on. And then I just let it sit there. And then if after about 20, 30 minutes or so, get a fork and fluff it up. And there's the quinoa. And a lot of people I know say they don't like the quinoa because they say they can see like little tails on it and things. That happens a lot if you boil it too much. You'll see it can almost like sprout little tails. And so if you do it that way, the way I just explained it, you don't get it that way. And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful quinoa. So in we go. Any type of quinoa, doesn't matter, whatever you've got. And sometimes like the tricolor will be more expensive in the stores. And so what I'll do too is I'll watch and then I'll just do these nicely because they have these. I'll show you, grab one. It's easier to. I have like these type of jars. It's like this is a lentil one. But what I'll do is I'll start and I'll be like, oh, I found some red quinoa and it was on sale because it was maybe like $3.99 a pack. So I'll add the red quinoa and then I'll get the white quinoa and then sometimes I'll, just all the different colors. And then I'll just shake them up in there and then just keep them in there. So sometimes that's a way to get the tricolor without absolutely spending all the extra money. Because sometimes the tricolor will be like $7.98 a bag when everything else is like $3.98. So these are fun ways to, and I did this over the holidays. And so like all my spaghetti and pastas and everything else are in these jars. And then they have them labeled. So I know, like I'm looking at this and be like, nah, I'm okay on lentils. So I don't need to buy them at the store, but I may need to buy spaghetti or something like that. And it makes your pantry look really pretty too. It's kind of fun to have them all labeled out. Amazon. Of course, Amazon has everything anymore. I'll just show this real quick. Not much to see, but of course it's the base. I'll keep that going. Turn the oven off. We go sit there. Gotta like the quinoa tip. Oh yeah, you're welcome. That's the best way to do it. And it's so easy. It's like just half, whatever you need, dry for as like, and then double that up. So it's 1.5 of cups of dry equals 3 cups of the cook. And then just put, about this much, maybe about an inch more water, boil it for 4 to 5 minutes, turn off the stove and the burner and stuff, put a lid on it and just let it sit. You may think, ooh, it looks like there's too much water and stuff. It will absorb. It'll be great. So, and then you just let it cool off and put it in the fridge. Then you're all ready to go. I was a little overzealous, I think, with my avocado there, but all right. So we've got that in there. So we've got the cooked quinoa. We have an apple, so 1 large apple and kind of a medium diced. So when I did this last night, because I was just like, I need to get things ready and everything prepped out. All I did is I cut it up and then I just drizzled a little bit of lemon juice on it and I just covered it with plastic wrap and put it in the fridge. So this has actually been since last night at 6 p.m. Still looks good, not all yellowed out. And you will have a little bit of the lemon at the bottom, so just kind of pull it out unless you want more lemon, which we're going to have lemon in it, so I'm not going to add it. So a little bit of lemon at the bottom. Don't need. So fresh apple, yum. Love that. Then we've got the chickpeas. So we've got 1 can of chickpeas. So these are chickpeas with no salt. So these are the Cooners brand. So I just rinsed and drained them, and those are ready to go. You don't like chickpeas, and I get it. Then I would say if you don't, you could do like the white beans, the cannellini white beans would be great. You could actually change it up maybe and do black beans if you wanted to, or you could just say no beans whatsoever. So up to you. There's that. Then we've got that. So we've got the chickpeas, we've got currants. So currants are basically a small little raisin, and they are not as sweet. They can be, depends on how long you have them. They're usually the same consistency as a raisin. I happen to have these for quite a while. And what I did is I just kind of put them in some water, but they're itty little bitty. But instead of going look for currants, and so just because I bought them in like a big bulk. So I probably had 5 pounds of currants. So I've been trying to use them up for recipes, which has been really nice. So they've been in the refrigerator for a while. So they tend to get like almost like, I mean, if you tried to chew on them, it would probably take your teeth off. So if I soaked them a little bit, they're great. If you don't have currants, cranberries, dried cherries, any of those type of fruit would work. Any kind of apples. So we use so this time of the year, they are pink ladies, or what's the other one that you like? Honeycrisp. So any apple that you want. And if you want it like even tart, you could do the green apple. I mean, there's just so many apples out there. Jerry likes the Honeycrisp. I tend to prefer the pink ladies. So either one doesn't really matter. And they all turn out really good. And the nice thing about them, they're really, really crisp. Because like if you get the Red Delicious and those things, they tend to get mushy, and that's not fun. Not fun to have. Great questions. I love the questions. Then we've got lemon zest. So the currants and stuff that we had in there, I actually put in. So basically 1 can of chickpeas, a 1/2 cup of currants, and then I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons of lemon zest. So that's why I didn't put the other lemon that was left over that I was just keeping the apples fresh with, because otherwise it'd be like a little bit of pucker. And then of course what I'll do with this, just to keep it, because if you leave it out on the counter, it's going to dry up and be all nice and crusty. So I just throw it in a baggie, throw it back in the fridge, cut it in half tomorrow, and I will put it in water. Just wonderful. Best way to use lemons. Okay, and then we've got the 1.5 teaspoons of lemon zest. We've got everything and ground spices. Okay, so the ground spices, so we've got a tablespoon of fennel seeds and a tablespoon of coriander seeds. What I did is I used one of my cute little cast iron pans, 6.5-inch skillet. Use that. I toasted it up, but be careful when you're toasting because, of course, if you don't watch it, it'll burn. And there's nothing worse than having like burnt spices in your house. So they are nice and toasted. Now I'm just going to blend them up. Might have a spice blender that's starting to, there we go. Maybe you got to shorten the cord or something.
So,
Yep. Maybe time for a new spice blender. This one's probably 30 years old, maybe. Oh, that smells good. Toasted fennel. Reminds me of like, what am I trying to say? Spaghetti and meatballs. So like vegan meatballs. Fennel always reminds me of that. All right, so I'm going to add, so I'm not going to add in the whole amount. So I'm just going to do a little sprinkle because this is going to be a taste. So if you add in the whole amount, you may be like, ooh, I don't like fennel or that type of thing. So just do a little bit, mix it up, taste it, add some more. You can always add, you can't take away. Check everything as it's going. Check my lentils. Those. Couple more minutes. Whoop. I have my little kid, my dog, right here, so I gotta watch her. Watch her. Hey, you're right in the way, kid. Okay, so we got everything in there. I'll mix this up here in a second. So nice and pretty. Don't see the green too much, but it's down there. Now for the dressing, let me pull this off to the side so I don't dump it. But dill be a good spice to add. I'm growing some in my garden. So for the salad, yes, you could. I love, to me, like if you do like potato corn chowders or anything like that to add dill, the best. So I would just do a little bit and try it and then see if you like it. And then if you do, then just add a little bit more to it. But yeah, dill's wonderful. Adds great flavors to a lot of different things. All right, so the dressing, 1/8 of a cup of lemon juice. See, more lemon juice, so didn't need the stuff that we had on the apples. Then we've got 1/8 of a cup of apple cider vinegar. Have to add a little more since I kind of dumped it all over the counter. Then we have 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You could also switch out. You could do monk fruit sweetener. You could do agave. You could do date paste, any of your favorite sweeteners. Then I've got a teaspoon of miso paste. Mixing all those umamis. You got a little bit of sweet, a little bit of kind of the salty, a little bit of the tart, kind of the vinegars. And then I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. Favorite smoked paprika. That's all my spices. Lots. Those are all my refills up there. I have a lot of spices now. Never grew up that way, but I have them now and love them. This one is by Savory Spice, smoked Spanish sweet paprika. Best paprika in the world. It's like I use it, even if it says like regular paprika, I use this one because I love it. And you can order online. They definitely come out through whatever you need. So you can tell. Got lots, pretty much everything they got. All right, so you got all that in there. Then you could add a little bit of sea salt, black pepper. Not gonna add the sea salt, especially since I got the miso paste in there. Miso can tend to be a little salty. Do a little mix. I normally use the whisk, but I want to break down the miso a little bit first. If you have one of those cute little blenders, you could always add it in there too, just to even mix it up more if you wanted to. But kind of smoky. Got a little bit of tart because you got that lemon and you get a little bit of the apple cider vinegar. Got a little sweet because you got the maple syrup, which mixes really well with that smoked paprika. And then a little bit of the miso and stuff, which is kind of like creamy a little bit all the way up. So it doesn't make a lot of dressing, but you don't need a lot because of what we're going to be adding. So that's ready to go. Vegetables out. Separate the clothes out. It's probably the messiest part of the whole thing. That way it'll cool quicker. But kind of to me right now, it's just because it's lentils and tomatoes. That's kind of what it tastes like. So grab my blender. You got the bulbs, so you just do a little squeeze on them. Make sure you let it cool off a little bit. That's a really good question. I have not, as far as like the skins, this nice like peppery stuff, I have never used it for anything. I would assume if I was just, thinking about this, is that you could actually probably dry it out if you wanted to. And if you had like a high speed blender or something like that, or like the little spice thing that I was using, and you use that and then you just kind of blended it up, you could probably use it as flavoring. I've never done that before. Try it. Let me know. See what you think. The soup and stuff is like it was like 15 to 20 minutes for staying on boil. So you want to make sure it's not like a, crazy boil, but enough and stuff where you're getting your lentils all ready to go. Just peeling them really quick. Get one of the big ones. Easier to peel. Still hot. I'm just going to do a partial of them right now, and then I can always add a little bit more. I'm going to make sure I get to show you everything. If they're cooler, they're a lot easier to pull apart. Gonna do a nice squeeze, get them out the bottom like that. Just make sure you don't skins. And this is what they get all over your fingers. A little bit of wet from the fingers. Squeeze out. There we go. Another one real quick. If you don't want to go to the work of all this and you're like, oh, I didn't have the time to do this, you can always buy roasted garlic that's like just like this. And you just squeeze it right out of the tube. Don't make things like this keep you from enjoying your food. More. Empty. And I'll play with it a little bit because I got a couple here. Okay, so we have that. We have the tomato paste. So we've got the 4 tablespoons. I have more than that here, so measure it out a little bit. I like things tomatoey, so I might even add just a little bit more, just as I taste it at the end. Balsamic vinegar. So the balsamic vinegar, we have kind of covered up my thing there, tablespoon. Then we've got half of the roasted vegetables. Let me grab those out. Beautiful roasted vegetables. You could actually, if you have, if you got a bunch of them, you could add them to the salad too, which would be really good. Let's see. Are they that hot? Not really. Kind of grabbing all of them. Like I said, I'm not going to do all of them just because I tend to like chunky, and I made everything just a little bit small. So that's good. 2 cups of the stew base. And we're going to blend. Vegetable broth. If your base kind of goes down and it starts boiling off a little bit, just add in some more vegetable broth or water to do that. Nice, nice, kind of chunky, but it's going to make it really creamy. So I'm going to add that back into the base. It smells delicious. You've got the roasted red peppers, which I love. You've got cauliflower. You've got sweet potatoes. You got all your starches. This is the beauty of parchment paper. And I'll show you here in just a second. We'll get the salad ready to go. There's on the end. sticky. Before I add the kale. What it looks like so far. Yum, nice and chunky and warm. Add in the kale. That's 4 cups of kale. So basically 1 bunch by the time you strip it all down. I'll let this kind of get a little bit here. Out of the way. Let me get my salad. Add in the scallions. Nice greenery. Talk about hearty. Sweet potatoes and garbanzo beans and quinoa and kale. Gonna add in the dressing, drizzle it in. May not need all of it. I always recommend what you do is you drizzle in the dressing, drizzle in maybe 1/4 of it, stir it up, especially if you've got, if you want to get in there with your gloves and stuff and massage it in, then taste it and you can always add more. If you add too much and it becomes soupy, nothing worse. The way to know if you've got enough dressing, grab your lettuce. A bit more. Just add in not much dressing there. Okay. Salad. Isn't that pretty? Look at that salad. You could actually do pomegranates, which would be beautiful in here. Give that nice crunch freshness too, along with the apple. Toasted walnuts. You don't have to add them. You could add pecans. You could add almonds. All kinds of different flavors that you'd want. Or you could add none of it. Just add pomegranates. Pomegranates are abundant in the stores right now, which is really nice. But I like that adding a little bit of nuts and stuff gives you that nice crunch. Do a few. I knocked all the garlic on the floor. Okay, last, let me taste. Really good. It's like, what do they call it? Gut sticking. Nice, chunky. Very much a stew. Beautiful colors. Fall, winter colors. Like I said, this is one that if I think that we're not going to eat, if I get down like in the next day or so, and it doesn't look like we're going to eat all of it. Super cubes. They'll go in there, freeze, and then I'll label them, and then Jerry and I can have, we can eat it over the next month or two. Okay, let me set this down real quick. Grab because it's a little messy. Up there. Let's see. Looks good. Yes, it does. And then are you doing live cook with me classes now? I'm told someone in Chef AJ's reboot live cook with me classes. No, no, I don't know who's doing that. Yeah, don't know who's no, not doing the live. Let's see. Lucky Jerry. Yep, I agree. All right, so making sure I don't have a mess. Here is This is the quinoa kale salad. So it has walnuts in it. It has a little bit of avocado, has lemons, has scallions, has quinoa, kale, garbanzo beans, all that. This is like, truthfully, it's a meal in itself. I mean, you wouldn't even have to do anything else with it. You could just do, grab a fork and away you go. As Jerry says, it's a microbiome bomb. That's even hard to say. Let me I get stuff everywhere. And then roasted vegetable stew with lentils. So you've got, as you can see, you've got kale, like quinto kale, in both, which is good. You've got onions, you've got cauliflower, you have roasted red peppers, you have sweet potato, you've got lentils in here, and then we mixed it up. We've got roasted garlic, all those, and the flavors. It tastes like a really, it's like I said, it's a really nice kind of like a gut sticker because it's got things that the roasted flavors with all the vegetables, which means all the sweetness comes out. But then you've got all the different the different spices and things like that in there. Same thing with this. I mean, both of them delicious, and you got nice fall colors. This is so. Guess what time it is? It's dinner time. Jerry's he's already rubbing his hands over here, and he's like trying to figure out how he can eat quickly. But this is delicious. Just do one more little. Really good. Little, like I said, a little bit of the sweetness of the sweet potatoes and that in there. But you want something that your family's going to eat on for a couple of days, few days. That's the way to do it. And then I would say, like, if you asked about the question about the lentils, keep the lentils out. You could add a little bit of couscous. You could add, all the kind of little, little type of little tiny pastas in there and something like that and stuff. You could add, I would add just probably maybe a quarter cup or so because pasta expands and I don't even care if it's couscous or anything, it'll expand on you. But add that in and stuff, and you would have the same delicious stew without the lentils. So hope you guys enjoyed. We've got, let's see, what are you making on the next session? We are making, it's either the pot pie. Jerry's going to look real quick. When I go so far out, then I forget which ones I'm doing, but I have pot pie or we're doing he's looking. I love pot pies. You find it? 20, the 6. Pot pie. Yeah, so we're gonna do a pot pie with a salad, which is a really good one. So that one's got all kinds of vegetables and family will love it, guarantee you. So lots of fun recipes up and coming. We've got some butternut squash shells type of a dish that'll be in a like a big kind of a big roasting pan and that type of thing. So lots of good things and stuff that you can do it on your own and you can put in the freezer and enjoy it or eat it all week or you can share it with your family if you want to. So all right, well, guys, love you guys. Thank you for attending, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks. Have a great rest of your evening. Stay warm. Bye.